toward New York 2024.
Now, the news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this Friday. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And as you see, some rain already in the area.
Yeah, pretty decent activity on the radar right now, and this is the remnants of Debbie moving in.
Just on the outskirts, right?
Yes, just starting to see a bit of that rainfall. In fact, let's take a look at the radar right now and see how things are shaping up. So the latest trends as of this morning is that Debbie is moving a bit faster, which means that, of course, we're not talking about catastrophic issues with rainfall, flooding concerns, but this is going to drop a good amount of rain. And on top of that, we got to keep a close eye on radar scans for the potential for some rotating storms, especially in the northeast quadrant of the system. I'll break down that in a bit more detail coming up in a few minutes. But you can see here the northern extent of the system is moving in. Moderate to heavy rainfall is expected for pretty much all of the area late this morning, into this afternoon, and into early this evening. Again, we are at a moderate risk for flash flooding. The idea hasn't really changed too much. The path, at least the path where the most of the rainfall is expected, can still shift east or west, but the risk zone where it could happen is still in the central New York area. And again, as I mentioned, highest risk being flooding, but still we cannot rule out an isolated tornado or two. We'll keep a close eye on the radar this morning, this afternoon, and this evening. But the next 12 hours, you can see here, lots of rain, temperatures in the 70s. We'll show a bit more regarding the expected path, the time this moves out, plus the latest on stream and creek levels in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And tornadoes that have already spawned by Tropical Storm Debbie have leveled homes, damaged a school, and killed one person in the Carolinas. Now communities here in New York are bracing for the remnants of the storm, expected to bring heavy rain and the potential for tornadoes, as Eric mentioned. The storm is now considered a tropical depression. The commissioner of the State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services here in New York, Jackie Bray, is warning all New York residents the key to safety is to prepare and be aware, then heed the warnings.
If you have a flash flood warning and you're at your home, which door are you going out of? How are you getting to higher ground, right? I know in my house, I would go out my back door and up the hill about 100 yards, not out my front door that leads down to the creek, right? So just know those things today. You know, I think you're right. The Mohawk Valley is really used to floods. The one thing I would say is that the ground is saturated. It is a really wet period of time just south of the Adirondacks. And given that, less rain, less water than usual can cause flash flooding. And so we all need to stay alert tomorrow.
And that is today for sure. Bray also warned that rushing water, even just a few inches of it, can be more dangerous than it seems. She says just 6 inches of moving water can make it impossible to steer your car, and 6 more on top of that can move your car entirely. Now to a developing story. Today, the leaders of the United States, Egypt, and Qatar are all urging Israel and Hamas to resume ceasefire talks. A joint statement.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good morning. The time now is 5:12. We're getting you set to head out the door this morning on the Munson CommuteCast. And first off, taking a live look at downtown Utica, we got a damp start to your day. There is still some ponding on roadways and low-lying areas. A heads up as you head out this morning. And the rainfall is going to remain persistent for most of the daytime today. And a live look at the traffic tracker. There are no incidents to report of early this morning. But again, we'll start to see some locations, especially again low-lying areas that could see flooding potential with the rain showers today. So again, this morning, widespread rainfall, moderate to in some spots heavy, with heavy rainfall expected by this afternoon. Again, the timing of this system is actually moving in a little bit sooner So instead of roughly 4 to 8 p.m., the timing of the heaviest rainfall, we're thinking 2 to 6 p.m. or 3 to 7 earlier on by a span of a few hours or so. But again, we'll talk about that exact timing in a bit more detail straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. The Olympic track in Paris.
From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning and welcome back. We will be in Storm Tracker 2 alert mode coming up within the next few hours as the rain will move in consistently. Heavier rainfall later on, the potential for severe weather this afternoon. A live look in Oneonta, currently 68 degrees with rain showers coming through, and some other temperatures early this morning in the mid-60s in Westmoreland, Little Falls, North Country Inlet, into the south, 66 Norwich, Cooperstown, and Oneonta. So a lot of locations roughly within a degree or two from each other. And the reason why is because we've got some consistent rainfall moving through the area. Live with the radar, we got heavier rainfall out in Syracuse indicated by the brighter yellows, darker greens, still some moderate rainfall, and lighter greens, some light rain. And this is all part of the moisture driven in from the remnants of Debbie, which is now post-tropical depression Debbie. The rotational part of this storm has weakened to the point where it's actually just producing mainly rainfall, 30-mile-per-hour winds at this point. But you notice it's actually not looking quite like a tropical system. It's colliding with that cold front that we mentioned over the past few days. And that's going to glide that system along it, heading north. And that's why it's speeding up. So we can see here the remnants of Debbie moving right over central New York and then continuing north and east. We are monitoring creek levels today and tomorrow, and at this point, the only one that looks to enter minor flooding stage is going to be West Canada Creek at Cass Bridge. The expected crest looks to be around 6.1, but again, these numbers could change. We're going to have the latest numbers on these as the system moves in. Other locations in yellow locating near flood stage, so at this point, we're not looking at anything extreme, but it's enough to raise those water levels to a point that could cause some minor flooding. And again, rainfall accumulation, some spots could see as high as 3 inches. Most locations will see roughly 1 to 3. It just depends on exact spots here and there. But the concern with flooding today is going to be the fact that we saw excessive rainfall, or at least consistent rainfall, overnight into early this morning. And so the ground is saturated, and we're seeing a lot more rain today. We also have a concern for an isolated tornado later today, especially south and east of Utica. It's on the northeast quadrant of the system, meaning that that's usually where the wind environment up in the atmosphere is most favorable for tornadoes to spin up. But just real quick, you can see those rain showers moving in today are a little earlier than we expected yesterday and even 2 days ago. 3 to 7 p.m., the rough timing of the heaviest rain. Beyond that, we're actually drying out in time for Saturday. And so your 7-day forecast, an isolated shower Saturday, a better shot for scattered showers Sunday. Not a complete washout both days, but again, the risk for flooding from this system ends Friday evening, or at least today, into tonight, and the concern is no longer present by Saturday. Gary?
Eric, thank you. The Thrilla at Unadilla returns this weekend as the iconic
forecast. Today is Friday, August 9th, 2024.
Now, the news with Gary Lipitor and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Lipitor.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And you just showed that live shot, and it is dark outside.
Yeah,
I'm used to it being light.
Yeah, it's getting darker out. The sunrise is getting a bit later. On top of that, we also have some rain moving in, those low-lying clouds, and in fact, look at all that rainfall moving in.
Already.
South. Yeah, the remnants already starting to arrive. In fact, let's take a look at where everything is headed. So, on the map right here, we've got the brighter yellows and even oranges indicating heavier rainfall rates. And this is a pretty much widespread thing. Almost everyone here in the area will see at least light to as high as heavy rainfall this morning. Zooming out, we're not done with the rain. However, I think the heaviest axis of the rainfall will be along this boundary right here. I don't think we'll see the worst of it here locally because this is colliding with a cold front and then sweeping east. And along that front is where the heaviest rain will fall. But again, we're still in that risk zone for flash flooding indicated by the red area right there. So can't let the guard down right now, but what I can tell you on top of flooding risk is there is also a very small risk for an isolated tornado to spin up. Again, it's non-zero, but with the risk zone present and any remnants of a tropical system is just something that we have to keep a close eye on. So just remain weather aware today. We'll, of course, provide all the latest updates. Don't worry about that. With temperatures climbing into the mid-70s with rain showers pretty much throughout the entire day today. This rain will eventually end. I'll tell you about when it does end and if this will extend into the weekend in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. Well, it appears Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump have officially agreed.
Welcome back. We are showing our final photo of the day this week, and I think that we've seen plenty of sunsets, plenty of different kinds of pictures, but how about this one right here, submitted to us on our website of an osprey catching a fish at Delta Dam. If you look closely, you can see the fish in its talons. Again, amazing photo sent in by KV Photography. If you want to submit a photo like this one, send the link right there on top of your screen, WKTV.com/weather/pics. You can capture nature in a photo like this, or a rainbow, a sunset, other animals, anything that you deem showcases the beauty of our area here in central New York. But back to the forecast. Today's a bit busy regarding rainfall. We've got some moderate to heavy rain moving in from the south at this point, just starting to pick up in the Utica, New Hartford area right now and into some locations in western Otsego County. We'll continue to see this rainfall throughout the day today. We're still on alert for potential for flooding. We'll talk about that in a lot more detail in that forecast in the minutes ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. We can hear that rain coming down pretty hard right now. That's for sure.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good Friday morning. Rainfall activity has been picking up this morning as heavier rain is moving into downtown Utica. As we take a live look outside right now, there's some ponding on roadways, especially low-lying areas. One of those main culprits being that low-lying area along the arterial. So heads up heading out this morning. You could maybe see some minor hydroplaning in those low-lying areas. A live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar. The heaviest rainfall starting to move in, those yellows and even some spots of light oranges indicating the heaviest rainfall rates here. Nothing going beyond, though, the heavy downpours into the red zone at this point. To the south, though, we mentioned yesterday afternoon that there is a rising concern for rotating storms or tornado warning down just outside of 95. Heading closer to Maryland, so a heads up that as we enter the afternoon, the environment favors wind shear in the atmosphere, which are ingredients present for the potential for an isolated tornado. We'll talk about that in just a second, though. Radar and satellite, all this is moisture, tropical moisture coming in from the remnants of Debbie, which is now a post-tropical depression. It has lost its tropical storm tag. The wind is weakening, but the tropical moisture and that rain is still there. And that is going to continue northward into our area as we head into this afternoon and this evening. We'll, of course, keep a very close eye on water levels. With the amount of rainfall we've seen so far, the ground is saturated. Low lying areas, the smallest creeks and streams, have the highest chance of seeing any flooding. The larger ones will be a bit more delayed and a bit less impacted by the rainfall. Again, we're not talking about something historic here. In fact, I just want to make sure I'm off the screen now so you can see these water levels. This is what they're expected to crest to. Yellow is indicating near flood stage, orange indicating minor flooding. But this is still something that could cause some inconveniences, as well as, of course, flooding in locations that don't wish to see any ponding or some sorts like that. But you can see here most locations seeing roughly 1 to 3 inches of rain. Isolated areas, especially that location in red, that could see even more. But again, I mentioned there's a potential for tornadoes in that brown area, and that's due to the fact that this will be in the northeast quadrant of that tropical setup, which is the most favorable environment for rotating storms or tornadoes. But just real quick on our Skycast, because the rain showers have moved in, at least the heaviest of rain showers are expected to arrive a little bit earlier this afternoon. 12 to 1 p.m. initial start for some spots, heaviest rain roughly 3 to 7 or 2 to 6, give or take an hour or so. But regardless, beyond this evening, weather quiets down. Aside from a spotty shower or two, Saturday is looking a lot nicer. So again, if you have any concerns about the weather, this is only for this evening and tonight. Following that, the risk for severe weather and flooding concerns come to an end by Saturday and Sunday. Gary?
Eric, thanks. New York State champion Smith Post 24, 2024.
Now, the news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this Friday morning. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
Boy, you can hear it come down now.
Yes, heavier rainfall has moved in. We're actually right in that little zone of the heaviest rainfall right outside of Utica. And a lot of that is moving a lot more north. In fact, we'll see persistent rain throughout the day and potential for severe weather later on. So let's take a look at that rainfall in the at the radar right now. Again, as I mentioned, the yellows and oranges indicating heavier rainfall rates, and that's moved in for pretty much all of Oneida County, into Utica, Rome, heading into the Mohawk Valley in Herkimer County. Still some on and off heavier rainfall rates mixed in with some quick ends of the rain. Into the Otsego County area, Oneonta quieting down, but to the south, we still have more rain on the way. And my gut instinct tells me that the heaviest rainfall band will likely be in this zone right here, right along that cold front this system is colliding with. And that is a zone that could see 3 inches or more of rain. But regardless, we can't let our guard down. We are still at a moderate risk for flash flooding in the area in red, which includes pretty much all of central New York. On top of that, tropical remnants have ingredients in the atmosphere that are favorable for a tornado or two to spin up, so we are at a risk for that on top of flooding concerns. So just a heads up, you want to make sure you're weather aware. You can scan that QR code at the bottom of your screen right now. It'll take you to our download for the Storm Tracker 2 app. It will send you warnings, not only for tornado warnings, but as well as flood warnings, and that'll be very vital, especially for those of you who are out and about and not immediately having access to a TV. But regardless, today temperatures in the 70s with widespread rainfall. We'll talk about how much rain we're expecting across the area, as well as when this whole thing ends in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. Well, tornadoes did spawn by Tropical Storm Debbie already. They've leveled homes, damaged a school, and killed one person down in the Carolinas. Now communities, as you heard Eric mention, right here in New York are bracing for the remnants, and those remnants have already begun. It is raining very heavily right now at the moment. The storm, though, considered a tropical depression at the current time. Commissioner of the State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Jackie Bray, is warning all New York residents the key to safety is to prepare and be aware, then heed the warnings.
If you have a flash flood warning and you're at your home, which door are you going out of? How are you getting to higher ground, right? I know in my house, I would go out my back door and up the hill about 100 yards, not out my front door that leads down to the creek, right? So just know those things today. You know, I think you're right. The Mohawk Valley is really used to floods. The one thing I would say is that the ground is saturated. It is a really wet period of time just south of the Adirondacks. And given that, less rain, less water than usual can cause flash flooding. And so we all need to stay alert tomorrow.
And she said that yesterday, so definitely that is for today. And Bray also warned that rushing water, even just a few inches of it, can be more dangerous than it seems. She says just 6 inches of moving water can make it impossible to steer your vehicle, and 6 more on top of that can definitely move your vehicle entirely. Now to a developing story. Today, the leaders of the United States, Egypt, and Qatar.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good morning. Welcome back. The time now is 6:13, and we're getting you set to head out the road this morning on a Munson Commute Cast. First off, a live look at downtown Utica right now. We're still seeing persistent rain showers. This is saturating that soil, and with more rain expected later on today, that could cause a concern for some flooding. But a live look at our traffic tracker. We've got no accidents or incidents to report of early this morning. So our attention for now, of course, turns to our Commute Cast forecast, which this morning, on and off, steady rainfall, some spots a bit heavier, but heavy rainfall is expected by this afternoon into this evening. Now, the timing of it has shifted a little bit sooner in the day, meaning the rain, or at least the heaviest rain, also ends sooner. We'll talk about those changes in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. The Olympic track in Paris, golden for Team USA.
Today, tune in for the Storm Tracker 2 Commute Cast, brought to you by Munson. Visit Munson today and ignite curiosity and creativity. Visiting Munson and the Storm Tracker 2 Commute Cast, both free and both Utica's very own. Remember, all roads lead to Munson. This portion of from Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good Friday morning, everyone. We are tracking rain showers moving through the area right now, and more rain will be on the way. Let's take a live look at downtown Utica right now, where some heavier rainfall rates have moved through already. And a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar. Pretty much all of central New York seeing at least some form of rain, except maybe isolated spots in Otsego County. Heaviest rainfall rates up near the Camden area, heading closer to Boonville. Still moderate to moderate heavy rainfall for most, if not all, of Oneida County. And this is just the first wave of several rounds of rain today. Now, in my opinion, I think the heaviest axis of rainfall will be just east of our area, heading closer to Oswego, Lewis County, Jefferson County, St. Lawrence County, that zone right there, but we'll still be in the area seeing at least 1 inch to 3 inches of rainfall depending on location. The tropical storm Debbie has now been downgraded to post-tropical depression Debbie, meaning that the winds have decreased around 30 or so miles per hour, but the tropical moisture is still there. And that's the concerning part, is that this will bring with it the potential for excessive rainfall as the track of that storm moves through the area. In fact, you can see that slight westward shift with the latest models. But speaking of flooding concerns, here's a look at potential water level rises for area creeks and streams, or in fact area creeks and rivers for today and into tomorrow. Noticing that West Canada at Cass Bridge, minor flooding stage possible. The rest of the region going through other area creeks and rivers heading near flood stage, but we're not looking at anything major. This is not something that's expected to be historic, but we are still looking to see some form of excessive rainfall in a lot of the area. As you can see here, 1 to 2 inches in areas in the yellow. Isolated tornado possible. 2 to 4 inches possible in that darker green area. Flash flooding possible, especially in flood-prone areas. And steady rain today, heaviest in the afternoon and evening. And again, there is that risk zone for tornadoes in that dark brown area right there. And that's because we are going to be, at least this zone right here, in the northeast quadrant of that rotating cyclone, which is most favorable in meteorology for a random spin up of a tornado. And so quickly on our Skycast, those rain showers moving through, heavier rainfall moves in this afternoon. It's trending a little bit sooner. But the good news is that following this evening, around 7, 8 p.m., most of the rainfall activity is over and done with. And then we're only talking about just an isolated shower Saturday and a better shot for a scattered shower or two on Sunday. So the concerning part of the system is only for today. But of course, throughout the day Saturday, we'll keep a close eye on area creeks and streams, and we'll, of course, provide the latest updates regarding that. Gary?
Thanks. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow
2024.
Now, the news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And at least for now, the rain has settled a little bit. It was coming down pretty well before.
Oh, yeah, pretty hard earlier on, and we could see that heavier rainfall return again once more. We're in this zone. Pretty much all of Oneida County, by the way, is in this zone of moderate to heavy rainfall. So this is the initial part of the rain that we're seeing from Debbie, and we'll continue to see it throughout the afternoon. Let's take a look at that radar in more detail. Again, pretty much every corner of Oneida County, this is something you don't usually see too often with the system, is seeing moderate to heavy rainfall. That encompasses from Camden all the way to Boonville, Forestport, Rome, Utica, down to Secoit, Clayville, and even over to parts of just north of Little Falls, heading into Herkimer County, involving Route 28, Route 169, into Fairfield and in Newport, all in that heavier rain. There's a bit of a lull in the rain south, but yet again, more rain is filling in south of it. Now, in my opinion, the area that will likely see the most amount of rain will be this band of heavier rainfall gliding along that cold front as this system collides with it. So I don't think we'll be in the exact zone of heavy rainfall, but you can't let your guard down with a system like this. A lot of tropical moisture at play, a lot of forcing in the atmosphere. So you can see, of course, the red indicating that moderate heavy rainfall. There's a concern as well for the potential for some spinning storms. We'll talk about that in a lot more detail coming up in a few minutes. For now, though, I'll send it back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. And don't forget the Storm Tracker 2 forecast, never more than 10 minutes away. Well, it appears.
Welcome back. We are showcasing our photo of the day on this Friday, our final photo of the week. And this one was taken in a spot in Delta Dam of an osprey catching a fish. Look at this amazing photo right here, mid-flight with a fish in its talons, taken by KV Photography. Amazing photo right here. If you would like to submit a photo like this one of some animal in nature like this, or just simply a nature shot, a rainbow, rainstorm, sunset, sunrise, or just a beautiful blue sky with a nice field in the background. You can send all of those to wktv.com/weather/pics, and you could have your photo featured right here every weekday on News Channel 2 at sunrise. Well, the radar is still showing heavier rainfall, and that is moving a bit north. And following that, the rain not nearly as heavy, but still pretty steady, especially in the Norwich area, Shenango and southern Otsego counties. The lull in the rain looks to be in the Cooperstown area out near Hamilton into Madison County as well. And so again, we're tracking that heavier rain moving north and additional rainfall, which is expected to arrive this afternoon. That's the area we are most concerned about. We'll, of course, talk about that in a bit more detail straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. A 5-week program focusing on getting area youth up.
The The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning and welcome back. We are tracking rain showers moving through the area, some spots a bit heavier. Before we get to the radar first, let's take a look at Sequoia Creek in Whitesboro. This is, of course, one of the main focuses we usually look at when we're talking about any heavy sustained rainfall in our area. But let's take a look now at the Nexus camera, where there is still some ponding on the roadways early today. Rain, of course, collecting on the camera. And the main concern today, obviously, is going to be for excessive rainfall, potential for flooding in flood-prone areas. But for right now, we are looking at initial rain moving in from the system. A live look at the radar. Here's that heavier rainfall, pretty much Utica and north, moving through the North Country, Lewis County, Herkimer County. A slight lull in the rain just between the Route 20 corridor, but then more rain is lifting in from the south. And this is all from the remnants of Tropical Storm Debbie, which, by the way, is now a post-tropical depression. The winds have weakened. But the one thing that has not weakened is the amount of moisture with this system. This is dragging in a lot of tropical humidity and lots of water that the atmosphere can use to produce some heavier rain showers. We're seeing some of that initially right now, but notice here the path of the center of it has tracked a little bit more to the west, meaning that we might not see the worst of the rainfall, but that puts us in the category of potentially seeing some severe weather. Before we get to that, though, here's a look at the latest water levels from area creeks and rivers. Noticing the orange for minor flooding possible at West Canada at Cass Bridge. That is the only zone right now currently sitting at minor flooding or higher expected. Same thing for other locations at Mohawk at Delta Dam, Moose at McKeever, Oneida at Oneida Creek. You can see here cresting to near flood stage, but so far nothing looking too concerning. But some river monitors, for example, in the Whitesboro area for Sequoia Creek does not have a official river forecast. So because of that, it will not be included in the radar in the list, but we will still keep a very close eye on it. How much rain are we expecting? 1 to 2 inches in areas down in south and east of Utica. Isolated tornado possible. 2 to 4 inches in the green area here, locally higher amounts as well. And the overall headlines, flash flooding possible. Most of the steady rainfall is throughout the day today. Heaviest expected this afternoon. But taking a closer look at that severe weather risk for today. Noticing we got this light brown in locations south and east of Utica, 5% risk for tornado. Not exceptionally high, but the risk is there. We want to make sure we emphasize that with this forecast. The reason why there's a risk is because with a tropical system that has rotational signatures up in the atmosphere, the northeast quadrant of that storm usually has the best chance of producing rotating storms or a tornadic storm to form. So again, we're going to keep a close eye on this system and the radar and look for anything regarding any spinning storms moving through late this morning into this afternoon. So let's talk about the timing of it. We are seeing that rainfall moving through right now. A little bit of a lull in the rain by the late morning, but rain will return again by this afternoon. Light to moderate, then moderate to heavy, and then heavy rainfall late this afternoon into early this evening. Well, the latest trends have this system moving a bit quicker. We'll see this storm exit to the north and east by roughly 6, 7 p.m. By 8 to 9 p.m., just some lingering light drizzle and clouds, but the system departs and we're not tracking any more regarding significant rainfall, which is some good news with this system. It's moving faster than the latest forecast yesterday, but again, severe weather potential is there. So alert day today. Following that, we've got A little bit regarding more quiet weather for Saturday and Sunday. Isolated showers Saturday, better shot for showers Sunday, but not a complete washout like we're seeing today. Temperatures remain in the 70s till around Wednesday and Thursday, where we climb into the low 80s. Gary?
Eric, thanks. New York State champion Smith Post 24 out of Rome continued its.
Now, the news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the CW11. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And Debbie sure was slow to get out of the southeast, but it moved up fast, didn't it?
Yes, it's colliding with a trough, which is speeding up the process, so it was going very slow, and now it's going to slingshot over the northeast. We're actually seeing a start of it right now. Some heavier rain north, a bit of a lull south, but more rain arriving following that. Let's take a look at the radar, zoomed in a little bit more, because again, areas north of Utica now, that heaviest rain we saw about an hour or so ago is continuing northward into Lewis, northern Herkimer County, Hamilton County, into the Adirondacks. But again, even though there's a bit of a slight lull in the rain right now, there is more rain following that, and even the potential for a rumble of thunder. Zooming out a little bit, we're starting to see this system take form, and this is the time where we start to pinpoint where the heaviest rainfall sets up. And right now, I think this will likely be along this band here, missing most of the region. I think the heaviest rain misses central New York, or at least the Oneida, Herkimer, Otsego County area, but we still have the risk for severe weather. Regardless, we're not letting our guard down. This system could still behave slightly differently than expected, but main concerns being some flooding, secondary concern, potential for severe weather. We'll talk about those risks in detail in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And some tornadoes have already spawned by Tropical Storm Debbie, have leveled homes, damaging a school, and killed one person down in the Carolinas. And now communities here in New York are bracing for the remnants of the storm. And the storm is now considered a tropical depression. The commissioner of the State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services here in New York, Jackie Bray, is warning all New York residents that the key to safety today is to prepare and be aware, then heed the warnings if needed.
If you have a flash flood warning and you're at your home, which door are you going out of? How are you getting to higher ground? Right? I know in my house, I would go out my back door and up the hill about 100 yards, not out my front door that leads down to the creek, right? So just know those things today. I think you're right. The Mohawk Valley is really used to floods. The one thing I would say is that the ground is saturated. It is a really wet period of time just south of the Adirondacks. And given that, less rain, less water than usual can cause flash flooding, and so we all need to stay alert tomorrow.
And our own Kristen Copeland did that Zoom interview with the commissioner right there. She also warned that rushing water, even just a few inches of it, can be more dangerous than it seems. She says just 6 inches of moving water can make it impossible to steer your vehicle, and even more than that, can make your vehicle move entirely. Now to a developing story. Today, the leaders of the United States...
Summer, never get caught on the course in bad weather. Get severe weather alerts right to your phone with the WKTV Storm Tracker weather app, the only weather app on your phone powered locally by the WKTV Storm Tracker 2 team. When you're on the go, stay in the know.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning and welcome back. We are starting out with rain showers early today, and a few of them are going to be a bit heavy, especially as we head into the afternoon. Let's take a live look outside at downtown Utica. There is still some slight ponding on roads from some of those rain showers that moved through earlier on, but we are seeing a bit of a lull in the rainfall activity currently in the Mohawk Valley. However, more rain is expected to move in following that initial rain we saw about an hour or so ago. And so the radar right now, we can see that the yellows south near Norwich, down near Oxford and Green are shifting north into the Route 20, eventually I-90 corridor. And on top of that, even more heavy rain out to the west. And the broader scale pictures, we're starting to see this system begin to form in a way where we can start to forecast where the heavier rainfall bands are going to be. I think that we won't be in the area seeing the most amount of rainfall, although the risk is still there. That looks to be in locations just along this line right here, right along that frontal boundary is where that heavier rainfall axis will set up. There's still some rain following that, and there's still potential for a rotating storm or two as we enter the environment favorable for that. We'll talk about that coming up in just a minute. But the tropical storm has now been downgraded to a post-tropical depression. It still doesn't mean that we're out of the woods with the heavier rainfall. It just means that the wind speed has been reduced to a point where it's no longer in that category. The path of the storm has taken a slight westward shift, and it's sped up even more, which is good news, again, for us regarding the potential for some flooding. But the potential is still there, and we want to exercise the risks with that. We are keeping a close eye on area creeks and rivers, and so far, only one location was expected to climb to near minor flood stage. That looks to be West Canada Creek at Cass Bridge. Other locations either at near flood stage or not expected to reach flood stage at this point. But we'll keep a close eye on levels. Again, with the rainfall we've seen already, the runoff expected from these rain showers are likely to impact small streams and creeks first, and then have a delayed impact on larger scale streams and rivers like those just listed. Regarding our rainfall totals, we're still thinking inch or two in locations out to the east, 2 to 4 inches or even more in the green. I still think that the chance of the high end of this is looking a bit less likely. But the main concern following the risk for severe weather or risk for flooding is the potential for severe weather for an isolated tornado. And the reason for that is, as you can see here, brown area indicating the best chance for a storm to fire up. It's not likely to happen, but it's non-zero. And that's because as we are in the northeast quadrant of that system in the area in brown, that's the best spot, at least atmospheric environment-wise, to produce a tornadic storm. And so in our skycast, that initial rain moving through, heavier rain arrives this afternoon, lingering into this evening. But following this evening and tonight, rainfall activity winds down, and the weekend looking not too bad. So again, the concerning time frame for this looks to be today into tonight, and then weather does quiet down.
With Gary Liberatore and meteorologist.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage, and we're beginning with the weather.
That's right. First a hurricane, then a tropical storm, and now a tropical depression. Debbie has made her way to central New York.
And there are numerous closures due to the weather. Obviously, local pools, even as water safari up in Old Forge. For a complete list, head to our website, WKTV.com.
And behind us, here is a look at Sequoia Creek in Whitesboro. So many people keeping an eye not only on that creek, but other waterways around the region. And we have just learned from the National Weather Service that a bridge has collapsed over in Steuben County, down in the Elmira area. So definitely something to keep an eye on, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we're tracking consistent rain showers for today. Again, here's a look at West Canada, or at Sequoia Creek right now. Notice the water level has continued to rise. A live look at it right now. And a look at the flood alerts right now. Again, Steuben County, which is down south a little bit right now. We've got the flood advisories and flood warnings in effect for locations to the south. In fact, in parts of Chenango County and areas out to the south and west. And of course, the heavy rainfall is continuing to lift. Here's what's left of Debbie moving through our area. And you can see here, rain showers for now, but as we head throughout the afternoon, we'll see the heavier rain arrive, and then the rain does come to an end as we head into the evening.
Definitely a busy day ahead for sure. And locally, many municipalities are keeping a close eye on their local waterways, none more so than Whitesboro. Mayor Glenn Hopsicker was down at the Sequoia Creek this morning and continuously monitoring things. He says once he got word that the storm was going to be tracking through our area, the village started preparations, making sure that all the storm drains were clear and able to handle the water. All the manhole covers were cleared as well, and making sure the culverts were emptied. And we are having some difficulty with our technical abilities right now as far as some of the videos go, so please be patient with us. But Mayor Hopsicker says he and his staff will continue to monitor the situation until the flooding threat is over. Now, we also checked in with the folks over in Utica. The Department of Public Works has been preparing for potential flooding since Monday.
News with Jason Pallas.
Good evening, everyone. Governor Hochul declared a statewide state of emergency as remnants of Hurricane Debbie caused severe flooding. On top of flooding, we're also under a tornado watch in Herkimer County. Chief Meteorologist Bill Cardis, we'll get to him in just a minute. But first, over 8,000 people are without power in Oneida County. Actually, it's now 10,000, and over 6,000 in Herkimer County. Trees and wires down around the viewing area. This is Marlboro and Oneida Streets in Utica. And then on Pleasant Street in Kemble near the Parkway, it was closed down there because trees came down, also taking wires with it. Word to the wise, stay off the roads until crews are able to get everything cleaned up. And as a reminder, if you see down power lines, always assume they are energized. Stay away from them. If the power goes out and you have a generator, make sure you use it outside in a well-ventilated area. And keep flashlights and extra batteries on the ready. Never use candles as a light source. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Bill Cardis on this alert day. And we're through the worst of it now, right, Bill?
We are through the worst of it. Things are going to get better going forward. The heavy rain is done. We saw some minor issues in our area, especially the wind. That seems to be the worst of it, causing a lot of debris in the roads, taking down some trees, some scattered power outages. So if you're heading out this evening, even though things are quieting down, just be careful because, again, some of that debris is still in the road. As far as flooding goes, most areas are fine. We have some minor flooding that's been taking place in parts of our area, but again, things are expected to get better. In fact, as we look at some of the statistics here, this is a look at rainfall totals. We had 1.5 inches to as much as 3 inches in our area, but again, the rain was a lot heavier to our west, where the flooding was a lot more serious across and south of the Finger Lakes region, but still a pretty good dose of rain across our area. The winds were strong. We saw wind gusts as high as 50 miles an hour, 51 in Herkimer. Again, that's what's led to widespread power outages this evening. The winds combined with the rain and the leaves still on the trees, again, taking down some of those trees across the area. So again, if you're heading out this evening, just be careful. Things get better. The weekend is looking a lot nicer. We're going to look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. Take a look at this. The Sequoia Creek in Chadwicks was out in front of Mohawk Limited on Bleachery Place this afternoon. Heavy rainfall all day. We've seen it before, and we know where it all goes. Down the Sequoia Creek into Whitesboro. News Channel 2's Ben Kinney is live tonight from Main Street, where residents and officials there closely monitoring the Sequoia Creek. Things getting better, Ben.
Yeah, Jason, good evening. As you said, everything coming downstream to Whitesboro, but things have gotten better in the last hour. We've seen the water here right on Main Street at the bridge gradually decrease, so good news there. Also good news, the worst of it's over, as Bill just mentioned. Bad news, Sequoia Street is flooded. I was down there about a half hour ago. I took a walk down there. Several of the houses are flooded. So this video coming from North Genesee Street during the heaviest of it. It was raining sheets, buckets, droves, cats and dogs, whatever you think of. It was raining that heavily. This video shot by legendary WKTV photojournalist Earl Davis on North Genesee Street. Again, multiple reports of those strong winds as well as some minor flooding. Several houses on Sequoia Street have their basements flooded. The reason a lot of the basement pumps actually weren't working because there is no power along this stretch of Main Street and down to Sequoia Street. I just checked the outage map, no word yet on an estimated restoration time for that. But again, I'm going to step out of the shot here. If you were watching us online at 5, you remember how high that water was. Considerably lower now. It was up to that white sign when we were live at 5. Now we are a lot lower. So definitely good news there. The worst of it has moved through. we're going to keep tabs on this and all the possible flooding throughout the area as we go through the night. For now, reporting in Whitesboro, Ben Kinney, News Channel 2. Jason?
All right, Ben, thank you. We also checked in with folks in Utica. Department of Public Works been preparing for potential flooding. DPW Commissioner Dave Short says workers cleared drainage culverts and catch basins. Several areas of the city, though, that are more prone to flooding than others.
We know that we have quite a few areas in the city. The city's on a hill, so we have a lot of areas for potential flooding. Parkway is one. Halleck's Ravine is another one. That's in South Utica. Lincoln Hole, that's Lincoln Ave and Plant Street, Tracy. That usually has an issue with flooding at times. North Utica has some issues, certain locations. So we're keeping an eye on all of them at this point.
Dave Short says anyone who starts to see potential flooding issues, give the DPW a call. The number right there on your screen, 315-738-1341. A Vernon Center man is facing charges.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
Good evening. Welcome back. The weather is significantly improving. We dealt with rain and wind over the past several hours. Still a few lingering showers out there. Let's take a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. And again, we're looking at pretty quiet conditions out there. In fact, the sun is starting to poke out from time to time as well. And this just in, the National Weather Service has now canceled that tornado watch that was in effect for Herkimer County. So they dropped the watch earlier for Oneida, Madison, and Otsego County. That watch has now been dropped for Herkimer County. So again, that very much expected as the storms continue to move to the east and conditions are going to continue to improve. We have no flash flood warnings in our area, but we did see some flooding today, some minor flooding. This is at Sequoia Creek from earlier. This was from meteorologist Eric Gage. The one spot we're keeping an eye on is West Canada Creek at Cass Bridge. So below the dam, there could be some minor flooding taking place over the next few hours. In fact, the floodwaters are expected to climb to a foot above flood stage at Cass Bridge. So this could have some implications along the RV parks along the stream. Again, something to keep in mind if you live in this area. You'll want to keep a close eye on the river levels over the next couple of hours. Again, that crests shortly after midnight. Live look in downtown Utica, 75 degrees. Again, some breaks of sunshine. The weather improving as we head into the weekend. Looks really nice on Saturday, 76 degrees, partly sunny. The chance of a shower, a cooler, breezy 73 as we head into Sunday. How about this? With skies clearing out tonight, we have the chance of seeing the northern lights. We have a solar storm taking place. Look to the north, especially after midnight. We have a chance tonight. We have a chance tomorrow night. Just looking at some of the stuff from the Space Weather Prediction Center. Yeah, that is a thing. We'll have a chance both tonight as well as Saturday night. My advice is download one of those Aurora apps because this happens very quickly and it'll give you a chance to check it out. So we look at the bigger picture. Again, Debbie lifting to the north and east, carrying the rain and the wind with it. Again, continuing to see improving conditions tonight. Skies clear out after midnight. Overnight lows drop down into the low 60s. Partly sunny on Saturday. Temperatures climb into the mid-70s. We're looking at mostly clear skies tomorrow night. And the weather turns unsettled on Sunday. It is cooler. We got a breeze taking place with high temperatures in the low to mid-70s. Clearing late tonight, low 62. Tomorrow, nice day, 76. Partly sunny skies. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Breezy, cooler Sunday and Monday. Some light rain that is not expected to instigate any flooding. Next week, the weather looks nice. Mostly sunny skies Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with temperatures near 80. We'll be right back.
News with Jason Pallas.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. Tropical Depression Debbie made its mark on New York State. Heavy rains caused flooding in parts of the area, and the winds caused different damage. And while the heavy rains may be gone, its effects aren't over yet. It is your top story tonight. The National Weather Service is warning about flooding along the West Canada Creek near Cass Bridge. This is how the creek looked around 6:30 this evening. The Weather Service says the creek is expected to get even higher than this, up to 7 feet by midnight tonight. In Whitesboro, all eyes were on the bridge on Main Street as many residents there spent the day watching water come closer and closer to going over. Thankfully, the water levels dropped before it could go over. Folks on the Secoit Street weren't as lucky. The road was completely underwater. And to make matters worse, a power outage in that area rendered basement pumps useless. The creek got as high as 6 feet, according to the USGS stream gauge, before falling just before 5 o'clock. And flooding wasn't the only thing Mother Nature threw our way today. High winds caused trees to fall along railroad tracks in Oneida County. That led to delays. We found this Amtrak train headed for Union Station stopped along Route 5 just outside of Herkimer earlier tonight. At the time, the conductor told News Channel 2 the train would be stopped for at least 3 hours as crews worked to clear the tracks. And oh, we're not done there. Take a look at this. In Clinton, a tree from the cemetery across from Hale Transportation came down on the building. It damaged a car there. There was also flooding on Kirkland Avenue near the golf course, and we're told Oriskany Creek was near the top of its banks. We're not done yet. Over 6,000 people without power in Oneida County, over 3,200 in Herkimer County, trees and wires down around the viewing area. This was Marlboro and Oneida streets in Utica. Then on Pleasant Street and Kemble near the Parkway, crews had to close that down because trees came down, taking wires with it. Just since this morning, get this, the Utica Fire Department responded to over 60 calls for service. A shout out tonight to UFD, UPD, the Utica DPW and Parks Department for all their work, as well as our first responders in the viewing area. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Bill Kardis. Kudos to everybody out there who had to respond to all of this today in some dicey circumstances. In fact, once things calmed down, you got the chance to go out and see some things.
Yeah, I did it. It's looking at some of the damage, specifically in Ohio. This place got hit really hard. I know a lot of places did too, but this was still a mess driving through some of the back roads here. This is Smith Road in Ohio, and it's pretty dangerous to be out and about, especially tonight with debris on the roads. So just something to keep in mind. If you are traveling, just be aware that there's going to be some branches in the road. There's still power outages. We took a lot of wind today, and a lot of those trees came down. As we go forward, the weather, again, does look nicer and quiet, but again, there's going to be a little bit of cleanup involved here over the next 24 hours. Also, good news, we've been keeping an eye on stream levels. I haven't seen anything alarming. No big flooding issues. A lot of the streams have crested. A few will be cresting tonight, but I think just about all of them are going to be below flood stage here by tomorrow morning. So good news there. Live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. A few lingering showers in our area. Temperatures are in the low 70s. It's still very humid. We've got that tropical air still in place, but the winds are going to turn into the northwest, and we are going to see a substantial drop in the humidity, and some cooler weather will be working in as we head into the weekend. For tonight, overnight lows have dropped down to the low 60s, a pretty comfortable night ahead. We've got a nice weekend weather-wise, so look at the forecast is coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. I got to show you this in Steuben County, just west of Elmira, the hamlet of Woodhull and the hamlet of Jasper along the Tuscarora Creek were issued an evacuation order by the Steuben County Office of Emergency Management. The Tuscarora Creek flooded, damaging property. Residents ordered to move to higher ground as floodwaters continued to rise. Nearly 4 inches of rain fell in just 6 hours in parts of the county. Look at that, right over a bridge there. New tonight, Utica rescue crews responded to
summer. Never get caught on the course in bad weather. Get severe weather alerts right to your phone with the WKTV Storm Tracker weather app, the only weather app on your phone powered locally by the WKTV Storm Tracker 2 team. When you're on the go, stay in the know.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Kardis.
Things are quieting down as Debbie has departed our area. Left behind a few lingering showers. This is a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. These won't last for very long, and the weather is expected to clear out as we head into tonight. Boy, the winds came in on the backside of the system with a little bit of a punch. This is a look at the wind gusts measured from New York State Mesonet. Herkimer, 51 miles an hour. Colebrook, 49. Morrisville, 43. Extensive wind damage was reported from these wind gusts on the backside of Debbie. Part of it was just the fact that the leaves are still on the trees, and we had all this heavy rain before the winds picked up. It's a tough combination for the trees as they get very, very heavy. If we had these kind of winds in the wintertime, you wouldn't see anywhere near as much damage. The rainfall, thankfully, the numbers were low enough where we didn't have any significant flooding. We did get a soaking rain, 2 inches or more in many areas, especially north and west of Utica. But again, we were spared the worst of the flooding. We still have a flood warning in effect for the West Canada Creek, but I'm looking at the rainfall numbers, the rain gauge levels. It's not that bad. In fact, it's just barely over flood stage now, or at least close to flood stage. And I don't think it's going to get very high over the next couple of hours here. Live look at downtown Utica, a temperature of 72 degrees. The weather over the weekend looks nice. Saturday, sunshine, 76. A few showers around on Sunday with temperatures in the low 70s. Solar activity, very active. The sun has been producing some energy which could create the northern lights tonight as well as tomorrow night. You need a lot of patience to see these, but should we get any clearing after midnight, wouldn't hurt to look to the north before you go to bed tonight. We have the chance of seeing these again tomorrow night. Again, look to the north. If you really want to track these, I recommend downloading an Aurora app where you can get notifications when the conditions are right. And again, you need a lot of patience, but we do have a few opportunities tonight as well as tomorrow night. Skies clear out as Debbie departs. Overnight lows drop down into the low 60s. Partly sunny skies as we head into Saturday. Pleasant. High temperatures climb into the mid 70s. Mostly clear skies tomorrow night. Overnight lows drop down into the upper 50s. And again, it does look a little bit cooler on Sunday. Clearing late tonight, low of 62. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies. Pleasant, 76. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. It's cool as we head into Sunday and Monday. Breezy temperatures at the low 70s. A few scattered showers. Tuesday, the chance of a shower. And back to summer warmth with highest temperatures near 80 Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
We didn't have any tornadoes,
no.
Unfortunately.
No.
I don't know if you saw, maybe you heard about, WNYT is reporting there was an EF0 down near exit 18.
Wow.
On the throughway.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, we're out of July, so we're going to start the next one.
That would be number 27. So we already set the record. We're adding into that for New York State.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
All right, thanks, Bill. Coming up next, Senator Griffo was on hand in Unadilla.
With Jason Palace.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Tropical Depression Debbie made its mark on New York State. Heavy rains caused flooding in parts of the area, and then winds caused different damage. And while the heavy rains may be gone right now, its effects aren't quite over yet. It is your top story tonight. So the National Weather Service is warning about flooding along the West Canada Creek near Cast Bridge. This is how the creek looked around 6:30 this evening. The Weather Service says the creek is expected to be even higher than this, up to maybe 7 feet by midnight tonight. In Whitesboro, all eyes were on the bridge on Main Street as many residents spent their day watching the water come closer and closer to going over. Thankfully, the water levels dropped before it could go over. Folks on Sequoia Street weren't as lucky. The road was completely underwater there, and to make matters worse, a power outage in the area rendered basement pumps useless. The creek got about as high as 6 feet, according to the USGS stream gauge, before falling just before 5 p.m. And flooding wasn't the only thing Mother Nature threw our way today. Those high winds caused trees to fall along the railroad tracks in Oneida County. That led to train delays. We found this Amtrak train headed for Union Station stopped along Route 5 just outside of Herkimer tonight. At the time, the conductor told News Channel 2 that the train would be stopped for at least 3 hours as crews worked to clear the tracks. And take a look at this. In Clinton, a tree from across the cemetery across the road from Hale Transportation came down on the building, damaged a car there. There was also flooding on Kirkland Avenue near the golf course, and we're told the Oriskany Creek was near the top of its banks. And over 6,000 people are still without power at this hour in Oneida County, over 3,000 in Herkimer County. Trees and wires down in the viewing area. This was Marlboro and Oneida Streets in Utica. Then over on Pleasant Street in Kemble near the Parkway. Crews had to close things down there as the trees came down, taking down wires. Just since this morning, get this, Utica Fire Department responded for over 60 calls for service. A shout out tonight to UFD, UPD, the Utica DPW and Parks Department for all their work tonight, as well as first responders across our viewing area. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Bill Cardis. You had the chance to actually get out northern Herkimer County in the town of Ohio.
Yeah.
It's a mess up there because of the high winds tonight.
Yeah, a lot of places are dealing with wind damage. This was Smith Road in Ohio, and it's just a mess. There's all kinds of debris, trees down. It's going to take a little while to clean all this up, so just pack some patience. And if you are heading out tonight, just understand a lot of our area took a lot of wind damage today, and there's still a lot of cleanup to do over the next 24 hours. Especially at night, it's really hard to see some of that debris on the road, so just be careful if you're heading out tonight. The good news is the flooding really wasn't as bad as we were concerned about. We still have a couple of minor issues, but we really didn't see any significant or serious flooding in our area today. There was a different story to the west and south of our area, but again, locally, we were spared. And this is a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. A couple of lingering showers out there from the leftovers of Debbie, but Debbie is pretty much done. A temperature of 72 degrees. It's still pretty humid outside. We've got that tropical air in place for now, but the winds are turning direction, and that's going to help lower the humidity, cool us off as we head into the weekend. The weather does turn a lot more pleasant. Tonight we're down into the low 60s. You can open up the windows and kind of air out the house here as the humidity drops tonight and tomorrow. Tracking a nice weekend ahead. Look at the forecasts coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. Okay, I got to show you this. This is Steuben County, just west of Elmira. The hamlet of Woodhull and hamlet of Jasper along the Tuscarora Creek were issued an evacuation order by the Steuben County Office of Emergency Management. Tuscarora Creek flooded, damaging property. Residents there were ordered to move to higher ground as floodwaters continue to rise. Nearly 4 inches of rain fell in just 6 hours in parts of the county. What a mess there. New tonight, Utica rescue crews responded to a 2-car crash on Noyes Street. It happened around
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
Good evening. Welcome back. We're taking a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. You can see some lingering showers in our area. Very light sprinkles, drizzle, some patchy fog is possible over the next 1 or 2 hours, but the weather is expected to clear out as we head into tonight. Boy, what a day. We had a lot of wind this afternoon from Debbie as she departed central New York. She left behind some pretty strong winds and damage. Wind gusts today, 45 to 50 miles an hour in the Mohawk Valley. 51 miles an hour is the highest wind gust measured from the New York State Mesonet and Herkimer. Colebrook, 49 miles an hour. Westmoreland, 41. The combination of the heavy rain today and the wind took down a lot of trees. Also, we've had a lot of wind storms this summer, and I think a lot of trees have taken previous damage. So that's a couple of reasons why we've had a lot more wind damage today, because you wouldn't expect it to be quite this bad with winds of 45 to 50 miles an hour. It's a strong wind, but again, the damage was a lot more than what those winds indicated. Rainfall totals, an inch and a half to almost 3 inches fell over the past 24 hours across our area. We're continuing to watch the West Canada Creek at Cass Bridge. The National Weather Service has a flood warning on this. However, I've been watching the river gauge, and this seems to have crested just below flood stage, near below flood stage. So I think the situation is better than what we were concerned about earlier today. Again, we'll continue to watch that here. Again, those river levels will be coming down. Downtown Utica, 71 degrees, a beautiful weekend. It's going to be a lot nicer on Saturday, 76. Sunshine, dry weather, just a few showers here on Sunday. Something to be on the lookout for. The northern lights, the sun is looking very active, producing some energy that could create the northern lights tonight, tomorrow night. And I just checked the Space Weather Prediction Center says maybe even Sunday night. So look to the north. My advice is download one of those Aurora apps. So if conditions become favorable, you can get outside and peek. And skies are expected to clear out late tonight as well as tomorrow night. So you look at the bigger picture again, Debbie heading out, drier weather moving in. Skies clear out tonight. Overnight lows drop down into the upper 50s. A beautiful Saturday, sunshine, temperatures in the upper 70s. Clear skies Saturday night. Few showers arrive on Sunday. Clearing late tonight, low of 62. Nice day tomorrow, partly sunny, 76. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Cool, breezy Sunday, Monday. Temperatures in the low 70s. The weather looks to warm up with more sunshine near 80 degrees Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
And we were talking in between shows. tornado down towards exit 18 in the Thruway.
Tornado number 27 for the year for New York State. Moving across the Thruway in Ulster County. It was an EF0. Yeah, wild.
We still have a little summer left.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Bill. Coming up next, Senator Grippo on hand in Unadilla to bestow a special